Well, I want to tell you what a pleasure it is to be with you here again in this coming Easter time. It's coming Christmas time. I'm always so glad when I found that I've been chosen to do another Sunday with you. I love being with you. And also, it's just great to be chosen, isn't it? To like, okay, you're the one to be chosen. I don't know, it pleases me no end for a lot of reasons. One is that I love to be here, but also it feels kind of novel to be chosen. I don't know, I feel like I haven't been chosen for a lot of things in my life. But I remember the first time that I really felt like, whoa, it's me, I'm chosen. I was in the 5th grade. And I had this horrible teacher whose name was Miss Candy. And she was not candy-like at all. She was really a witch. She would abuse kids in front of the class. And she was always saying things. I lived in a small town, and so everybody's sisters and brothers all had the same 5th grade teacher. And she would say things to all of us like, why can't you be like your older sister? Well, how come you're not as good at this as your brother? He was always blah, blah, blah. She was horrible. So it made you not want to volunteer for anything, because if you did and you were wrong, then, it was instant death. How could you say that? What are you thinking of? But if you didn't volunteer and she thought you actually knew the answer, then death also struck. So it was hard to know what to do with Miss Candy. Well, one day, it was in October, and she was teaching us something, and a woman came in carrying a grocery bag. I didn't know who she was, and so Miss Candy kind of stalked over to her to see what she wanted, and they had a whispered conversation. And then Miss Candy turned to the class and she said, "Which girl here doesn't have her Halloween costume yet?" Well, I didn't have my Halloween costume, and all these thoughts went through my head in lightning speed, of course. Well, do I admit that I don't have a Halloween costume and then get in trouble? Or if I don't admit it and she already knows, then I'll get in trouble. So I thought, So I raised my hand so slowly to say, no, I don't. And she said, all right, Mary Lou Robinson, come up here. And so I went up there, and it turned out this lady had 3 boys, but she had no girls. And in this bag was a Dutch girl costume for Halloween. The whole thing. I mean, the dress, the little Dutch girl apron, little Dutch girl hat with yellow braids hanging off it, and wooden shoes. It even had those shoes. What do you call them? Wooden shoes. Yeah. I was blown away. I got to wear this for Halloween. I couldn't believe it. Me. So I took the bag and crept back to my desk like a little mouse, just not even knowing what to think. I got to be chosen just out of the blue. What a feeling. You can't control being chosen. It just happens to us. So why am I telling you about me dressed up like a Dutch girl? Because when I was getting ready for the sermon, I was reading the gospel and thinking all the comfortable thoughts that I often think at this time of the year, and how beautiful this story is about the angel coming. And I thought about all the beautiful art that's been created from the day that Jesus was born up until now about the Annunciation, pictures of the angel and Mary looking so demure. And I started thinking, well, she was certainly chosen for this job. And if you think back to the gospel and the Old Testament lesson, they are about being chosen by God. David being chosen. What did Mary think when she realized she was chosen? We don't know because we never hear from Mary about anything. We hear reports of her, but she doesn't speak to us. So we have to ponder her being in the quiet of our hearts. But I think, if it were me who was chosen for something like that, I would be really worried about it. For one thing, it kind of sounds like the invasion of the body snatchers. You're going to have a baby in yourself that didn't come from anywhere. That just doesn't sound right. And then once you get over that part, then you're thinking, okay, this is going to be God's baby. How am I ever going to be up to be taking care of this kid? What if he falls down and breaks his head open? What if I don't teach him the right things? Or what if he is always telling me what to do and I'm the mom? It opens up a whole can of worms. I'm not sure what I would say. It would be a lot like being in Miss Candy's class. Do you say yes, or you say, excuse me, I left the iron on, I'll be back in a minute. The honor of it all and the fear of it all. How do you keep from letting the fear overcome you? How do you accept? And I wonder, in the reading, it's like the angel says, okay, here's what's going to happen. And she just says, okay. Now, maybe there was really a longer gap in there than that. Maybe he had to do some cajoling. I don't know. Or maybe Mary was truly the miraculous kind of person that she's portrayed to be, and she just immediately said yes. How does it happen in your life when you're chosen for something that you can say yes or no to? Does it happen right away where you say, no, not going there? Or, yeah, this is wonderful. Sometimes you get chosen by someone to be in a love relationship, to live with them, or to marry them, or to go away with them. If that happens, how do you feel about it? I mean, when they say, how about this? Did you right away go, oh, yeah? Or did you say, I'm going to go talk to my mom or dad or my best friend or somebody. I'm going to go pray on this. How is it when you're tagged? Do you respond? I guess it depends a lot on the situation and who's asking. Are you brave enough to say yes when it seems like something too hard for you? Another time when I was chosen, it wasn't quite so clear-cut as it was when my husband and I decided to get married. That was like a no-brainer. But I felt in the silence of my heart that I was being asked to be a priest. Now, there aren't any angels showing up when that happens, and you don't get a phone call. Hello, it's God. I think you should be a priest. You don't get that. You don't get a letter in the mail like when you've been admitted to college or something like that. No, it's just all happening in an unspoken way. So at first you're not sure that the question has even been asked. And then once you say, okay, I get it that it's being asked, then there's the question of, yeah, okay, what do I do about this? Am I really the person for this job? Now, I'm sure there are people who just hatch out of the egg and say, yes, I was born to be a priest. But that wasn't the case with me. I was kind of a late bloomer. This was in my mid-40s. It took me a long time to figure out that I thought I could say yes. And even, to tell you the truth, right up until the end, I thought, am I making this up? Am I just making this about me? Or is there really something here that I can give? Is there some reason for me to be called to this? Well, as you know, I decided in the affirmative to that question. But I wonder, how often are we called to other things that aren't quite so obvious? You know, we know the big questions. The big decisions in life are usually hard to avoid. You know when a question has been asked. But there are a lot of smaller things that happen that you could really just kind of ignore, that you could sort of pretend that you didn't hear it, or that you were in another room at the time or something. Or maybe you can say, oh, wait, there's been a mistake. You actually were talking to this person over here. It wasn't me you were asking. There are a lot of things that come into our lives, a lot of calls for each of us. A lot of times when we are chosen to do something hard, something not so hard, something that seems really out of character for us, that we won't maybe like so much, things that really seem like they should belong to someone else. Do we respond to all of these calls, these smaller calls that aren't going to require us to empty the bank account or move to another country or, you know, invite somebody to come and live in our house? The smaller calls, you know what they are in your life because they come to you pretty frequently. They come to me frequently. How do we respond? How are we called to respond? These lessons today, including the psalm, show us how we're called to respond. We're called to say yes. We're called to be obedient to God. What does that obedience require of us? The same thing that it's always required. Requires us to love. In any situation, love is the answer. To say yes means to love. Do we have it? Do we have enough love in the moment to give some of it away? Do we have the strength that love gives us to stand up and walk forward and do what we're asked to do? Well, I know for myself, I'd like to say, actually, no, I don't. You know, I'm feeling sort of weak on the love thing today, a little worn down. But that's never true. You know it's never true. It's never true because you have a source of love that continues to fill you so that your cup overflows. You have extra love. So do I. So in this season, the last of the waiting before Jesus comes into the world, ponder that in your heart. The love is coming to live with you and to be one with you, with all of us. We find Mary saying yes today out of her love for God and out of her realization, one would think, that this yes means that Christ is coming into the world. Christ, who as God is love, and she's allowing it to happen. This same thing is being asked of you. How can you allow love to be incarnate in this world? You're being asked, and how can you respond? You know. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.